When you're done with school, we think that we're done with education. That's the opposite. When we get angry, we forget to allow our brain to work. I realize, I'm like, this is crazy. I can't just sit there and be a part of it.
Okay, so I'm here with Jane Hyman. Like, this is the funnest day ever because, first of all, women. I love to have the women on the show. And you have quite a background. You are, like, in the legal profession. You have Legal Link. You have nonprofit. Like, I don't even know where to start with you. So I thought maybe we would start with a little bit of your background. And then really kind of get into where you are today and your work with nonprofits and your expertise and really what your advice is for entrepreneurs.
Yes, well, for me, it really started when I was not born here, but I grew up here in the U.S. I came from China as well. I didn't initially have the entrepreneur mindset. My family, I come from a family of entrepreneurs. I was more about, wanting that family, that American dream, the two household, children, the car, the house, and that W-2 paycheck initially. So my first career was in hospitality management. I worked for the Ritz-Carlton. I did guest relations, and I absolutely loved it. But with time, with children, that really changed for me. It was so important for me as a mother to have my imprint in my raising my children. So that really completely changed me around to wanting that career and then to coming back wanting to be with my children.
Yeah.
I come from a very hardworking family, and I believe in hard work. A little too much, I've been told many times. So I was, I just felt like at that time I couldn't do both. If I couldn't give 150% to my career and then give 150% to my children, I just couldn't. So that's when I pivoted, I realized, okay, I can't.
But it was really for the sake of the mother you wanted to be and for the children, but you weren't, you still knew you wanted to be working.
Yes.
Right? Like, that's
yes.
just how we are wired sometimes. Like,
Yeah.
I could never just raise I have to have that stimulation.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely. So for a while, I stepped back, with my second child when I stepped back for a bit. But I got really involved in education in their school and got on school site council. I did a lot of nonprofit work at that time. But health challenges and some legal challenges kept me out of the paying workforce for longer than I had wanted.
Okay.
So then when my children were old enough to be independent is when I said, okay, I really need something that I could stay focused, being the mom, a hands-on mom, but be able to bring in, the paycheck to help with the finances. So that's when the legal challenges I had personally actually made me realize how much I enjoyed legal work, which is crazy because I never ever thought that. So then I went ahead and got my went to paralegal extension school at UCLA and was able to get that, and then I was lucky enough to get a job with an amazing firm, boutique firm in the neighborhood with a man. The managing partner was, I'm not sure how much you know about the legal field or the environment you get into. I was lucky to have someone who was able to mentor me.
Oh, yeah.
And I was, I flourished. I actually loved it. And from there, realizing that my potential, again, in
In the
firm,
legal field or just in general as
in general,
Yeah.
and in the legal field.
Yeah.
My potential was still capped. And as a mother of 3 children, and with all of them, getting ready for college, that's huge.
That is huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I realized I needed more. So that's when I started Legal Link Services. And
Let's explain to our listeners what Legal Link services are.
so Legal Link Services is a company that I started that initially, for me, it's always been about serving people. I absolutely come to life when I'm working with people. It's always been that way. I don't know why I'm that way, but that's
Right.
how I am wired.
Yeah.
So initially, it was just, working with people doing notary work, doing life scan, and then doing legal services where I contract with other firms. But eventually I evolved, because you have to, as an entrepreneur, you have to adapt to what's happening. So it grew to, mediation services. So we offer that as well, as, financial literacy.
Yeah.
So it was born out of, I think, being litigation too long. So I did litigation for about 2 decades, almost 2 decades. I saw so many good people, really hardworking people, lose their health to litigation.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but also lose their financial health to litigation.
Yeah.
And I came from a family that when we came over here, they had $100 in their pocket. My parents had 4 children. Granted, we all worked, but they were able to make it.
Yeah.
And now they've got properties, they've got their own home, they've got their own business. And I know how hard they worked. And so when I meet people, and I know these everyday people, they do the same thing. I know they work so hard
Yeah.
for what they have. It really did hurt me to
Yeah.
watch. Because when we get angry, we forget to allow our brain to work. We react with our emotions. And they completely lose the aspect of, oh my gosh, that money I could use for my children for their education, or I could save for retirement.
The emotion completely fogs your ability to see.
They do.
Yeah.
And there were a couple cases that really broke the camera's back.
Yeah.
Being a part of being so up close with both sides, that I had to get involved because of the language barrier translating. I realized, I'm like, this is crazy. I can't just sit there and be a part of it and just allow this to continue. And because that was during the time where I was debating about getting my law degree instead. But then I just decided, no, we need more neutrals. We need more mediators that come in and help people to have a conversation.
Right.
That's all you need. People needed to be heard, but instead we're screaming over, the table, even in our emails. It's instead of, okay, what do you need? Let's sit down. Let's talk. Let's figure out how can we work together.
Yeah.
Forget the one makes sense, but to a point, we both have to win in an argument.
Right.
You don't both have to lose, You got to just give in a little bit and understand what what at the end of the day, your interest is,
Right.
And a lot of times we don't take the time.
Yeah.
So this really won out for me. So through Legal Link Services, through working in mediation, I recognized that not only do we need more mediators, we need the awareness. There's not enough awareness. And that's how Ecuador, early career alternative dispute resolution network was born.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's the nonprofit, right?
That's the nonprofit that I
Okay.
just launched with my board. I recognize that the environment we're in right now, I can't go and change the big landscape, but I can make these small little ripple effect in my community and let it go out.
Right.
I think if we all made a little effect in our community and then we all took it to our own community, I think that ripple effect can get huge.
Right.
And that's why I wanted to do this nonprofit.
So talk to me a little bit about why, first of all, why it's formed as a nonprofit and what the mission of your entity is.
Yeah. So the mission is twofold. One is a pipeline of neutrals coming in.
So when you say neutrals, mediators.
Anyone in the alternative dispute resolution industry.
Okay, so I didn't know that was a thing. Okay.
Yeah. I see. That's exactly.
Okay.
There is a thing, but
is that a whole industry of neutrals?
Yes. So the problem is, I was so heavily involved in my children's school district, and we have career days, and you've got your doctors, your lawyers, your policemen, your firemen. Everybody comes in. I've never heard of a mediator, a neutral.
Yeah,
coming
I'm a neutral. My mom's a neutral. Right?
Yeah, but so that's what I want to change, because the ultimate goal,
the benefit of having a neutral is peacefulness, right? Like what you're trying to do is create alternative routes that are less painful, less emotionally draining, and more efficient, right? Okay. I got it now.
Okay. So basically, it's to create the other fold that I didn't mention when I was in the legal field is I recognize that the existing mediators, arbitrators, and people that are in the industry, the reason why most of us don't know it is because those are the people that are in it are in their second career. Majority of them are retired attorneys and retired judges. And their hourly rate can range anywhere from minimally $500 an hour to $1,000, $1,500 an hour. And you need, in mediation, if it's a fast, something we're just resolving a few issues, not the entire case, 4 hours minimum. Wow. So even when I was working in it, I'm like, who the heck could afford this? I knew most people couldn't afford it.
Right.
And so I knew that was something also that we had to overcome. And I wanted to address that. I wanted to be able to, one, have younger people coming in.
Right. How do you do that?
Yeah. So that's something I think the ADL industry, diversity is not a thing. Majority of people are, I think 70% of people right now, according to Cornell Eilor School, they did a study, 70% of the people in the industry are over 70 years old and white male.
Oh, yeah.
And majority of them are getting ready to retire from their second career.
Huh.
And so they we recognized it in our own little board. I knew that was a thing because I've been in litigation for so long, but I didn't recognize that the industry itself understands it as well.
Right.
So they're addressing this, and they recognize that the diversity has to be
Right,
addressed.
because if they're all old, they're all going to, drop off at the same time. And then, where's the new,
Yes.
the new fresh eyeballs and all of that?
Yeah. So they do recognize it, and I'm very happy to know now that, they want this.
Yeah.
So they want what we're creating, and they want us. We're trying to connect with the existing organizations, and so what we do basically is a pipeline, opening up a pipeline for the new people to come in to work, because currently anyone else coming in, if you're not retired attorney judges, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's difficult
Yeah.
to make a career out of it. So our goal is connecting them, creating mentors or bringing in mentors from existing people that, the existing neutrals to come and mentor these new neutrals that are newly, certified in it. And the other arm is basically raising that awareness to for the industry, so that my ultimate goal when I first wanted to create this was for anyone who's angry, upset at home, to, instead of saying, I'm going to sue you, I'll see you in court, what I want everyone to say is ADR, alternative dispute resolution. How else can I resolve my conflict?
Right.
So that at the end of the day, if it's my neighbor, I still have to live with them, right? They're still in my neighborhood. Yeah. If it's my family, it's my sibling, it's my mom, you're still, or a colleague. Let's keep that relationship at the end of our conflict. How can we do it? How can we keep that relationship? So that's what I'm hoping we would create someday, so that we could, at the end of our dispute, we could stay friends. Yeah. We could stay having that family dynamics to kept intact.
Yeah.
So that's
a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, that is a tall order to really change the way people approach disputes, disagreements, and solve it in a more efficient way. But the whole legal link idea, like, it was born out of your own necessity, right? Like, you solved your own problem, right? Like, this happened to you. But then, your life, your need was a work-life balance, right? And so there are a lot of people out there who are going to want to know how you strike that balance, right? Especially as women, right? Especially as immigrant women, quite frankly. Like, what is your advice for, entrepreneurially inclined people to strike that balance and want to, have a hand in raising their children in their lives?
Yeah, for me, it's not like I had the answer. There's so much uncertainty.
Yeah.
You just have to, I think for me, it was adaptability, is really being able to know your core values, stick with it, and then kind of just believing in yourself. I think especially as women, we are so doubtful of ourselves. And I think and I was one of them. I mean, I always, especially as a Asian, a Chinese woman, because the value, what I grew up with, my value didn't exist, because I was told that even by my own grandfather, that children are to be seen, not heard. I think growth mindset, I really believe in keeping, when you're done with school, we think that we're done with education. No. That's the opposite.
It is.
The education actually starts when you get that degree.
Yeah.
That's true education starts.
Yeah.
You really have to, and it doesn't have to, people think that they have to go pay for that $2,000 education and taking the class. There's so much available.
Oh my gosh. I mean, and even just, you know, with some of the startup founders that I work with, you know, they are very into, you know, they've been mentored into like continuing education and read. And what happens sometimes with founders, like freshly out of the, you know, accelerator, is that they start reading only business books, right? Malcolm Gladwell, you know, and so it's like eating one kind of food, right? And so with my startups, it's like it's wonderful that you're reading like a book. Like, first of all, yay, that's a start. But you really read things that work both sides of your brain, and, you know, read Anna Karenina, you know, as well as Malcolm Gladwell. Like, do not get like, because too much, like it's confusing. If you read all the business books out there, you come out on the other side not knowing. And then if you only read, you know, Tolstoy, it's the same sort of thing. So, I mean, I love what you're saying about continuing education is not necessarily institutionalized. It is a curiosity of the world. It is seeking, you know, and seeking knowledge and travel and people. And that's, you know, one of the beautiful things about your story is that you are also a seeker.
Yes, absolutely. And, you know, I hear, because I do mentor people, and I hear a lot of people say, I don't have the time.
Yeah.
And none of us do.
Yeah. But
we
you
all
do
have
the
24
time,
hours.
honestly.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I don't even know how to turn on my TV. So, but I love to cook. I love to, you know, cooking brings me peace. So I'm not saying to give up those habits, or not habits, those things that brings you joy. But like when I'm cooking, my podcast or my audio is playing.
Yeah.
I'm always listening to something that I know would help me.
Right.
So it's the curiosity, you know. There were times when I was going through my health challenges, I knew, you know, my stress level was high. So then I started looking into, okay, what can I do to bring that? And that's, you know, when I looked into different ways or different education, you know, development, you know, Dalai Lama, I started bringing those coming into my life. So yes, you know, we just need to learn how to create time for us. I listen to books till I fall asleep because it helps me to understand. The self-development is really also learning you. It's developing you, because we can't help people until we know who we are.
Right.
And it's then that you know that you're able to help others. You know about you. You can't love you until you know you. And even then, you know, the 20-year-old me, the 30-year-old me, the 40-year-old me, like I'm so different today than I was even a year ago. So because you're always learning about you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we change, and it's for the better.
Yeah, we're supposed to, you know. I don't really want to hang around with 18-year-old Amy Cosper anymore. Let me tell you what, she's kind of a troublemaker. But it's just really, really cool that I got to sit down with you and hear your journey, and it's inspiring, and, you know, like all of it. I wish you so much luck, and with the nonprofit, it's a big deal, but it's going to be challenging, I think, for you guys, just to create, because it's a mind shift that you're trying to address, like a cultural shift for people to think in terms not of suing, but in mediating.
Yeah, it is a mind shift, but when you think about it, when we first started humanity, we didn't have courts. Yeah. We didn't have attorneys and judges. No. Like in California, you know, I'm not saying attorneys are not good, because there are cases where we can't, unfortunately, there are cases we can't mediate.
But there are cases where you can, right? And make room for the bigger, you know, more precedent setting, you know,
Yeah.
cases. So.
Yes, yes, and yes, I agree. There will be huge hurdles to jump over.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a messaging narrative story you're going to have to tell out there because it's, but also people don't know that there's an option.
Yes.
Right? Like that's just sort of, you're building something from the ground up, which is always challenging, but also very, very rewarding.
Oh, yes, I get so much pleasure in working in it. We finally had our first fundraising event just a couple of weekends ago. It just, but when I talk to people and bring the awareness to them and have to see that light bulb go off, I'm just, it's exciting to me. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for making the time to come sit on the purple couch at Get Busy. It's really nice to meet you. And also, Nika, it's just been really cool afternoon. 2 women back to back, first time.
Yes, and I've tremendously enjoyed this. Amy, thank you so much.
Oh my gosh, thank you
for
guys.
sharing.
Where did you...